Hello, my name is Blocksom, and today I'm going to present to you sensory processing. What is sensory processing? Sensory processing is the way our nervous system receives messages from our body senses and turns them into appropriate motor and behavior responses. For example, when you touch something that is hot, your body senses the heat and the pain, and the pain signal is sent to your brain, and your brain tells your body to let it go. You will also have that behavior not to touch the hot object again. In the past, they have traditionally taught about the five senses. They are touch, taste, hearing, seeing, and smell. Recent research has found that there are more than five, with some of them as many as 21 senses. Some of the senses that they found are pressure, which is feeling things touching you or you touching them. The itch sense, which is an external stimuli such as a bug, hair, or clothing fiber that causes a stimulus to your skin, and your body's response is to itch it. This itch is a defense mechanism that alerts your body that it could be harmed. Thermoception is the sense of hot and cold. Proprioception is the ability to tell where your body is in space. Tension sensors are in the muscles and allow your body to know if your muscles are contracted or relaxed. Nociception is our pain sense, and they have three types of pain. The first kind of pain is in the skin, and that's when you get a cut. The second kind is in your bones or joints, and that's when you have like arthritis or if you have bad bones or bad joints and they hurt. And the third one is our body organs, and that's when you have appendicitis, you can feel it, or your heart attack. Vestibular sense is our balance and spatial awareness. The stretch receptors are found in our lungs, bladders, and stomach, and they let us know when to stretch. So if you eat too much, your stomach feels full, and that's because of the stretch receptor. Our chemoreceptors are the smell, or they're either smell or taste, and they respond to a chemical stimuli. If your body is producing too much carbon dioxide, it produces a stimuli to breathe faster to get all the carbon dioxide out. If you swallow a chemical or something that's not good, your body's stimuli is to throw it back up. There's a hunger sense, which lets us know when to eat something, and there's a mechanoreceptor. And these mechanoreceptors feel the depressions of your skin as they touch something, and your skin deforms, and it lets your body know of what is being touched. People with autism spectrum disorder have a dysfunction in their sensory system. Their sensory system can either overload or overstimulate one or more of their systems, or can understimulate one or more of their systems. It is believed that sensory issues may be the underlying issue that individuals with ASD, rock, spin, hand flap, or other autistic behaviors. The researchers have found four patterns to sensory processing. The first pattern is the seeking pattern. The seeking pattern has a high threshold, which means it takes a lot for the individual to feel the stimulus, and active self-regulation, which means that the individual does it to obtain the threshold. Seeking patterns may include someone who makes noise, fidgets in their seats, touches things, feeling objects, chewing on things, or more to gain the sensory that they need. With each action, it intensifies the sensory input, which then increases the person's chance of meeting the high thresholds. A person may display excitability or engage in impulsive behavior to increase the sensory input, such as jumping up and down. But jumping up and down can also be seen as being excitable, when in reality all they're trying to get is their sensory input. Another pattern of sensory processing is low registration. Low registration is a high threshold and passive regulation, which means we don't seek it out, it just happens. Low registration sensory patterns include people who seem unaware of their surroundings and what is happening. The people with this pattern may seem dull, uninterested, oblivious, withdrawn, difficult to engage, or even self-absorbing. With this pattern, the brain is not activating enough to view the person about what is going on around them. Most events in the regular day activities are not stimulating enough and they need something really interesting for them to focus on. Another pattern of sensory processing is sensory avoidance. Sensory avoidance has a low threshold, and that means that it is only a little takes it for the person to be overstimulated, and is self-regulation. Sensory avoidance is when sensory input bothers a person so that they try to avoid it. An example of this would be an autistic person in a loud room will oftentimes cover their ears because they don't like the loud noises and try to avoid the loud noise. Also, unfamiliar inputs can be distressing and difficult to understand. Resistance and unwilling to participate in events, new or unfamiliar ones, and sensory avoidance, they try to create rituals and routines to stop unexpected events and to keep the stress down. The last pattern of sensory processing is sensory sensitivity. Sensory sensitivity has a low threshold and is passive self-regulation. People in this pattern detect more stimulus around them and tend to be hyper and easily distracted. This pattern has difficulty completing tasks because of the stimulus around them, and when their routine is disrupted, they have a hard time focusing and learning. Sensory sensitive people like structured experiences that are not overwhelmed by unstructured noise, like in a gymnasium, an activity in the gym that is near a kindergarten class that's making a lot of noise can be overwhelming for them. People see the world through their senses. People interpret the world differently based on their senses. When we're perceiving the world, we use three main senses. The first sense is our tactile sense. The second one is our vestibular sense. And the third one is our proprioceptive sense. The tactile sense, or also was known as our touch sense, is also known as the semiotosa sensory. This is what we use to feel the world around us. The tactile sense is made up of several other senses. Some of them are the thermoceptors, which are our senses to hot and cold, photoceptors, which are our senses to light, mechanoreceptors, which are our sensors to the impressions of our skin when we touch something, and pressure sensors, which is our sensors to touching something. Some examples of stimulus that may affect someone that has an overstimulation to tactile senses are if things move too fast and are overwhelming, the lights are too bright, things around them may be too confusing, something may feel scratchy or itchy to them, and certain foods may be painful because of the texture. Some strategies that may help people who have tactile sensory difficulties are having a quiet area, either a different room or somewhere else, having a hat or sunglasses available to put on if the lights become too much, keep routines in the classroom that do not allow confusion, and also keep routines about where items go, pick clothing without tags or tags that is comfortable to the person. Have alternative seating other than the blue plastic chairs. One popular thing is seat rings or beanbag chairs. And also find foods that the person likes. There are several ways to engage learners through tactile sense. You can include more touch, like texture, or objects, more opportunity for movement such as rocking or jumping, have louder sounds so they can feel the sound, and have toys that can be chewed. The next system that helps us see the world is the vestibular system. The vestibular sense is our movement and balance. It has the most widespread influence on our everyday living. This sense helps keep balance, coordinate movements with our head and eyes, lets us use both sides of our body, feel direction and speed of movement, and remain upright. As you can see, this is a very important system that we have, and if there is a dysfunction in it, it can affect every aspect of our lives or their lives. Some examples of a person who has trouble with their vestibular system may exhibit poor teaming of the eyes as they move, which can lead to reading difficulties with coordination, so oftentimes that they will seem clumsy and collide with objects around them, have poor posture to the point where they may fall off the chair, poor core muscle strength, poor hand-eye coordination, as well as poor foot-eye coordination, and poor body awareness. As you can tell, the vestibular sense is a very important sense for people, especially with athletes, and people who have difficulties with this sense aren't as good as others as the games or sports that are played. There are many activities that you can plan that will help satisfy someone's need in the vestibular sense, as well as build up their coordination. Playing on swings, sliding down slides, jumping, spinning, running, bouncing on a balance beam, and other objects and visual motor activities that require balance, movement, hand-eye or hand-foot coordination, such as dribbling a ball, catching a ball, or kicking a ball, will help increase this. The last sense that impacts our everyday life is the proprioceptive sense. The proprioceptive sense deals with your body and how it sits spatially. It is the brain's ability to track where our limbs are to our body in space. The brain uses senses to determine where part of the bodies are, then makes a mental map in our memory. This mental map is thought to be the reason why people suffer from phantom limb. And phantom limb is when your body thinks there is an arm or leg there after it's been removed because of your body still has the mental picture of that limb there. Also, the proprioceptive sense allows us to know where our limbs are in relationship to our body when doing physical activities such as running or throwing a ball. In essence, when we are running, one arm will disappear as it goes behind you, and thanks to a proprioceptive sense, you know that your arm is still there and not gone, and where it is even though you cannot see it. When someone has a dysfunction with their proprioceptive sense, it affects a lot of their lives. Some tendencies are they are clumsy, fall more often, there's a lack of awareness of body position, which can lead into bumping into things, odd body posture, minimal crawling when young, difficulty with snaps, buttons, and other small objects, eating in a sloppy manner, and resistance to new motor movement activities. When someone has a proprioceptive dysfunction, there are some activities that will help this sense. They will have to include working on correct posture, improve their balance, which will then improve their motor control, learn to perform sequencing, timing, and execution of an individual component of an exercise, such as doing a jumping jack, knowing when to open your feet, open your arms, raise them over your head, clap, bring them down, and bring your feet together. Just breaking it down, and lay down the foundation of gross motor skills to support participation in community activities with their peers, such as sports. Amethyst Shaber is a YouTube blogger who runs a video blog about what it is like to live with her, and she has the diagnosis of autism. She was asked to talk about sensory processing disorder. This clip shows her describing two sensory systems and how it affects her and other people with autism.
Hi everyone, I'm Amethyst, and welcome to Ask an Autistic. There are 7 basic sensors that are important to know about to understand sensory processing disorder. So you have the basic 5, which I think everybody has heard of. That's taste, touch, smell, sight, sound. Yeah, I think I got that right. And then there are 2 senses that most people haven't heard of, and that is the proprioceptive sense and the vestibular sense. Proprioceptive sense is the sense of where your body is in space. It allows for you to know where your limbs are, how much force you're exerting on things, and also where you are spatially in your environment and how to interact with objects in your environment. The vestibular sense is the sense that is all about motion and movement. It is the sense that tells you if you are in motion or standing still, if you are up or down, swinging, spinning, upside down. All of that is informed by the vestibular sense. So, as I'm sure you can imagine, when a person is under or over sensitive to any of the sensory input that they may receive from their environment, their experience is going to be a lot different than a neurotypical person's, and their life is going to be very different because of the things that they have to deal with.
As we've discussed, the senses help our body move fluidly throughout the day. When there is a dysfunction in our senses, it throws it off. And it throws off how we interpret things. What someone without autism finds easy, such as throwing a ball, someone with autism will not. When planning physical activities for people with autism, there's a lot that needs to be thought of. Students with autism spectrum disorder have more difficult time because of the sensory issues that arise, and also the social issues that arise. There are several categories that they have difficulties in. The first one is in the inattentive and hyperactivity behaviors. As we mentioned earlier, in the sensory sensitivity pattern, people with that pattern have a hard time focusing, so steps need to be taken, such as a quiet instruction time, pictures, or even having them repeat directions. Also, there's a social piece to the physical education setting. Teaching social skills and how to work together will help the students interact with each other and calm them down. Emotional regulation difficulties will need to be addressed, and activities in which the students can succeed should be planned. Students with autism spectrum disorder will also struggle with understanding or performing tasks. This could be because they have poor tactile, vestibular, or proprioceptive sense and struggle at that task. Also, narrow focus and inflexible adherence to routine and structure means that activities have to be made easier for them and explained better. When planning physical education activities for students with autism, you need to consider what stimulates them, what understimulates them, and how to reduce the triggers. Use visual or tangible reminders such as pictures to encourage children to follow the rules and complete the activity correctly. Anticipate conflicts and work with the children to resolve issues. And lastly, do not ever force a child to participate in an activity they do not want to do. This will only increase their behaviors. When planning for physical activity, accommodate the sensory needs of the students. If they like to jump, make a game out of it. If they like to spin, do the same. Accommodate for what sensory they're looking for. Accommodate for also the physical level of the students. Remember, if they have any dysfunctional senses, you do not want to have them having a football catch with a student, and if they have vestibular dysfunction, they may not be able to catch the ball correctly and could be hurt. Finally, be aware of the surroundings. If you're inside, be aware of noise or other hazards. You have to remember that the students are unable to control their body as well, and if there are objects flying around or bleachers, you want to stay away from them. Also, be aware of the noises and inside. If you're outside, be careful of trees and bushes and water that may be near, because that might interest the student more, or they may not be aware of it and hit it. The gymnasium can be a very difficult place to use. It can be loud, it's big, it can be very unorganized, you can be sharing it with other classrooms, and it can be intimidating to some. Some strategies to help with getting the students to sit down and listen are using inflatable cushions or seat pads. Use timers to help them move around, weighted pads to help them relax, and have routines. When they come in, they sit down or they wait quietly or in a certain area. Represent instructions in many ways, and also know your students, know what triggers them. If you have a whistle and you know that loud noises set them off, don't use your whistle or don't yell. So knowing the students will be your best bet. Next, we're going to watch a video about a gym that specializes in movements and gymnastics of kids with autism.
With Your Autism is a resource here in the gym and on the website for parents or people working with kids with autism to learn more about exercise techniques that are specific for kids with autism. Gymnastics, swimming, and diving for about 10 years now, and just a few years ago I was lucky enough that a Lakewood school asked if they could come to the gym and bring their special needs class to work in the gym. And when they came, I just realized that there was definitely a big need for kids with autism, that they weren't able to find the same exercise programs that everybody else could find. So I decided to build this website as a way for people to just find exercise ideas, and I got enough people that really liked it that I opened up new class time and people could come away. The ebook that I'm writing right now is really just compiling everything I've learned in this class. Some of the research like through ABA or diet, but also just a lot of techniques for exercising. Finding just regular gym exercise that you can break down into basic components. Lots of other ideas like yoga or martial arts that are just really good techniques for kids with autism to learn how to exercise. Home gyms like this really just give parents ideas about how to take these youth exercises and apply them to their kids with autism. For instance, we were doing squats, but instead of just asking the kids to squat like we might do with the other 10-year-olds that we have in the gym, we're breaking it down into building blocks of what to do with your knees, how to bend down, using physical prompts to hold their arms up in the air until they can master the skill. Put your hands underneath your chest, and push your chest up really tall. Take a sea line. And flip your sea line flippers.
Well, for him, it's really great to see him develop more balance skills and physical activity that helps him earn them out for sure. But it helps him to develop that balance and self-confidence of walking around and the different elements in the gymnastics area, especially allow him to get comfortable and build more self-esteem and self-confidence.
This gym incorporates a lot of sensory activities. Some of them that you saw was rolling, climbing, jumping, and tumbling. We also included a couple spatial activities such as when he was doing the push-up, moving your hands and things like that, getting them to move their body. He also talks about breaking down the skills to the individual components. I personally am very active within the Special Olympics. I coach softball, floor hockey, and soccer, and I have learned that doing that, breaking it down to the simplest movements, has made me a better coach. When I first started, I assumed that everyone knew how to throw a ball. But in reality, they never really been taught the steps. So, the very first thing we had to do was break down the steps of throwing a ball. And we taught that first step, the step. And then the next one was bring the arm back, and you work on it until they are able to get it. Now, this next video is about a guy, his name is Coach Dave, specializes in getting kids with autism spectrum disorder training and moving.
I will finish with more exercises and stretches. I hope you enjoy today's show.
Back. Art? Good. He is absolutely amazing with doing this. Good. Nice job. Oh, what's that? Who does that with your chest? Good. And then what else? Where else do you go to go? What else do you work with? Excellent. Opposite arm, opposite leg are working, both hemispheres of the brain. Good. She had a daisy in her hair, she wore a silken gown. But when she started going up, I was coming down. Yeah, don't do it with this one. We're going to start with, yeah. I like this.
So Coach Dave uses the different techniques that we talked about. He was doing sensory, balance, he was doing strengthening, things like that. And he uses the different approaches to get the kids more involved. So, in conclusion, living with sensory dysfunction is a very difficult way. It affects every aspect of their lives. When planning for activities, remember to account for their strengths and build up their weaknesses. Thank you for listening, and I'm going to leave you with a description from Amethyst of what it is like to live with a sensory processing dysfunction and autism as well.
Hi everyone, I'm Amethyst, and welcome to Asking Autistic. I wanna write a song. Your integration issues, you know that you're different and you wish that you weren't. Sensory integration issues and sensory processing disorder can cause a lot of grief in our daily life because this world isn't really built for us. It is so loud and so fast and so bright, and all the clothes are too tight and everything is too itchy, and when you exhaust you, just trying to get some sleep at night with all these sounds all around. Sensory integration issues can be really hard to deal with, and it's important to remember that you're having a show